Hey guys, it's Vita Velo Energy Healing. Welcome to my channel. So this is going to be a reading for all fire signs, okay? Aries, Leo, Sagittarius for the month of August. Now, these messages may not resonate with every fire sign out there, so please just take what resonates with you and leave out the rest. All right, let's see what we have going on for you guys this month. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. You know, you've been spending way too much time going over the same thing in your head. Like, you're trying to figure out what to do, what the right decision is, or whether something is even worth your time anymore. And the more you think about it, the more frustrated you've been getting because nothing really seems to be changing. Okay, and you're starting to realize that sitting around thinking about it isn't getting you any closer to an answer. Yeah, at some point, something's got to give. Okay, and part of the reason you're feeling this way is because you're starting to question whether all that time and effort and energy that you've been putting into something has even been worth it. You know, it feels like you've been showing up, doing your part, trying to make things work, and you're not getting much back in return. You know, some of you are starting to realize that either you've been doing way more than someone else, or maybe you've been working your ass off towards something that's not really going anywhere. Okay, and after a while, that starts making you wonder why you're still putting so much effort into it in the first place. You know, a lot of this comes down to the fact that you're just tired. Okay, you're tired of putting in the effort, you're tired of waiting, and you're tired of feeling like you're the only one trying to keep something moving forward. You know, some of you have been frustrated with this for so long that you just don't have it in you to deal with it anymore. It's like you've reached a point where you don't even have the energy to just keep having the same conversations. Okay, and when people keep acting or doing the same thing over and over again, eventually you just stop expecting anything different. And the reason this has been going on for so long is because a lot of you have been avoiding a decision that you know needs to be made. It's not that you don't see what's happening, okay, because you do. It's that part of you just keeps hoping things will somehow work themselves out without you having to do anything. Okay, but the longer you sit there waiting for things to change, the more frustrated you start getting. And that's why you've been going back and forth in your head because, you know, deep down, you already know something has to give. And if you think back to like last November or December, that's when somebody started acting very differently. Okay, this could have been like an Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Aquarius. Okay, or maybe they could have had initials like J, M, A, or S. This is somebody who does what they want, when they want, and doesn't always think about how their actions affect other people. You know, one minute they're all in, and then the next minute they're doing something completely different. And that's when a lot of you started realizing that this person wasn't nearly as consistent as you thought they were. You know, and, you know, somewhere along the way, this situation just started bringing out a side of this person, you know, that you weren't used to seeing. They became more defensive, harder to deal with, and more worried about what they wanted than what anybody else needed. You know, some of you started noticing that whenever things didn't go their way, their attitude completely changed. And after a while, it became obvious that this person was creating a lot of the problems that you were trying to fix. And around August 20th to about the 25th, you know, a lot of you are going to realize that avoiding a decision is still a decision. Okay, you've spent so much time waiting to see what happens, hoping things would change, or trying to figure out the right thing to do. But eventually you reach a point where you can't keep sitting there waiting anymore. You know, some of you know exactly what needs to happen next. You just haven't wanted to do it. You know, before you know it, things start changing. And you're going to finally be forced to make a choice one way or another. And once that decision is made, a lot of you aren't wasting any more time. Okay, you're done sitting around waiting, going back and forth, and thinking about the same situations over and over again. You know, some of you are finally saying what you've wanted to say for a long time, while others of you are finally doing something about it. You know, people are going to be surprised by how fast you do something once you've made up your mind. Because once you decide that you're done, you're done. And meanwhile, some of you are dealing with somebody who's like all over the place. Okay, this could be a Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, or Cancer. Or they could have initials like R, C, T, K, or L. You know, one day they seem sure about what they want, and then the next day they're questioning everything. This is somebody who spends so much time thinking about different possibilities and different outcomes and different options that they just end up doing nothing at all. Okay. And that's part of the problem, because while they're sitting there trying to figure everything out, you're getting tired of waiting for them to make up their mind. And part of you is still trying to be patient through all of this. You're trying not to react or do anything without thinking. You're basically trying to keep yourself under control. Some of you know that, if you say exactly what you're thinking right now, it probably just won't end well. So you've just been keeping a lot to yourself, but you're running out of patience. Okay. And by August 26th to about the 31st, a lot of you are done biting your tongue. Okay. You've spent enough time thinking about it, waiting, and trying to be patient. Okay. Some of you are just finally speaking up about things that you've been holding in for a long time. And some of you are finally making decisions that, certain people may not like. The difference is you couldn't care less what other people think anymore. And at some point, you have to do what's best for you, even if nobody agrees with it. All right, guys, that's what I have for you today. If you're enjoying my readings, you can follow me, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. If you'd like to book a personal session, just head over to my website, veloenergyhealing.com, or you could just message me directly. All right, thanks for watching, and until next time, sending you love and light.